Hello, everyone. This is a bit of a long story. It's explaining why. I'm going to explain why and how I became a fan of the Chipmunks and why they became sentimental to me in the years of 2009 and 2010. And basically, the reason why the Chipmunks is really the only online fandom I've actually ever joined. So before I can talk about that, I need to go back to go back a while. So this is going to be a bit of a long story. 2008, it wasn't a really great Christmas time, and this is unusual because Christmas is my favorite holiday. But that year, my dad had gotten laid off from work, and we had a little bit of money, only a little bit of money. And in 2008, the Alvin and Chipmunks DVD was released, and we had it rented. But I decided not to watch it because I wasn't in the mood for anything Christmas at the time. But that turned out to be a good thing because what happened the following year put me in the right mood and mindset to actually fall in love with the Chipmunks. If I had watched it that year, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So, in 2009, things were getting better, but they weren't perfect by any means. But in August, I wanted to find music to use while imagining a story while I take walks. I've always liked to use my imagination, even still as an adult. But as an adult, I only had time to do it while I took a walk for a short while. I wanted the story I was imagining to be about changing the world for the better, doing great things for people, etc. I tried different songs, but it wasn't until I heard Michael Jackson's songs being played for the memorial after his death that I found the right songs. It wasn't that I never heard a Michael Jackson song before and didn't like them. In fact, I did like them, but I wasn't too much into anything other than rock and roll and heavy metal. When I heard the song Man in the Mirror and Heal the World, I knew I had found the right music. I would use the songs as a way to create the story. I would listen to the words and interpret them in my own way, and then based on that, I would make up what was going on in the story. Okay, so it is very long. The story is pretty long, but I wanted to explain it because it actually leads to me being sentimental about the Chipmunks in the long run, even though it doesn't start out at all being anything to do with the Chipmunks, because it started in September. I started doing this, and I didn't watch anything or become a fan of the Chipmunks until December. Well, without further ado, let me go ahead and explain the story. Alright, so the story took place in the future where the world was united, however, under the control of a powerful dictatorship, which kept the peace, but not really. Everybody thought it was peaceful, but not really. But it was a much better world before the government, even before this type of government. Even while it was divided, the world was still a better place prior to all this. Okay, I myself was a main character in the story, but the main protagonist, or hero, was a humanoid creature from another universe that some people thought was a demon because of the creature's appearance. While he was like a monster, he actually was the friendliest person you would ever meet, and there was still a bit of cuteness to his look. The character was named Michael, after Michael Jackson, of course. He was the voice singing the songs. He was the main cause for change. The first songs of Michael... Okay, so the first songs I actually purchased from Michael Jackson was the Essential Michael Jackson Collection on Amazon. So The story starts out with Michael realizing people were working too hard and neither having any fun. It was like that in this society because of the government. This is because, okay, so the reason why I came up with this idea like this is because at the beginning, that CD, the Essential Michael Jackson collection, starts out with songs like Enjoy Yourself, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Off the Wall. So, since those are like about, having fun and dancing and things like that, so this inspired people to sing and dance and not work so hard. At the time, he was also dating a human girl, and their relationship would end because she didn't find the importance in helping people and didn't like the time Michael took doing these things instead of spending time with her. So the next song would be She's Out of My Life. That would be the song for that part of the story. This was also when many others realized how beautiful Michael's voice was and how much of a lover and a very romantic person he could be, and there was definitely something magical there. So, okay. So next part is it wouldn't be long until he would be looking for another girl, and this time he would have his eyes on a girl. One of his friends also had his eyes on. Michael and his friend would argue and sing, "This girl is mine." That's the idea. That's why that part of the story. Later, things started to take a turn. The government didn't take it lightly that Michael was inspiring people, but they still wanted to make things seem normal and that nothing was really happening. So the government decided to ruin Michael's reputation. I mean, wouldn't it be hard to ruin the reputation of someone who's like a monster, right? Michael also couldn't be stopped by conventional means due to his power. Thought like they could send the military. He's basically bulletproof. They first conspired to make it seem like Michael had an affair and a woman had his child, Billie Jean. When this didn't work, the government used propaganda to label Michael as a demon and a monster. Myself and a few people who supported Michael decided we would retaliate, but Michael was the voice of reason and told us to beat it. Michael eventually would play along with the government propaganda and kind of poke fun at it with Thriller, trying to be scary. Michael was so determined to make the world a better place that he just couldn't stop. However, things took a drastic turn when Michael met what would be the woman of his dreams. Things would have been fine, but this woman was the daughter of the ruler of the government. She never did see the things the way her father did. She would often sneak out and do things against her father's wishes. One day she was out, she met Michael, and it was love at first sight. It didn't matter that she was human and he was a creature. I Just Can't Stop Loving You is the song Michael sang for her. Once her father found out, he was furious. After this, the government's propaganda and treatment became harsh. Michael was harassed and threatened. The ruler of the government forbid his daughter from ever leaving their mansion. Michael became exhausted and angry from all the propaganda and the way he was treated. So he sang, "Leave Me Alone," looking the most serious I've ever saw him. He would later brush this all off and remember what his mission was. He said he saw a lot of poor people and wanted to help. He was inspired to keep doing good for the world, and the next song was "Man in the Mirror." He also gave to those in need that he could. The inspiration of people would be the last straw for the government. This inspiration, like this, what he did here. So the ruler sent a Secret Service member to murder someone in the town he had inspired to bring fear back. It was all done quickly in the night. That woman had been struck by a smooth criminal, and he was not okay. The ruler's daughter would find out, and she became enraged at her father. The ruler's daughter found out, and she became enraged at her father. She turned on him and ran away, not to be seen again for a long time. Michael was now alone again, but not to be deterred, he came up with the most inspirational song he had ever done. This song would be the theme song of the story. It would be a theme song if the story was made into a movie. The song was Heal the World. It was so inspiring, everyone around Michael would eventually join in on the singing. This put a huge smile on Michael's face. However, this moment couldn't be celebrated for long. The woman that Michael met at the beginning of the story showed up in his life again. I warned him about her because I felt like something didn't seem right. But Michael was desperate to fall in love again. He had no idea that this woman was an agent of the government and was there to purposely break his heart, to stop his love and inspiration to continue. Michael saying, "Remember the time." This woman seduced him, and they went on to have a love affair. To keep this PG, I will also try to keep what they did in the closet. Then suddenly, she would dump him, break his heart, leave him wondering why. Michael was devastated. He's saying, "Who is it?" and dangerous. He would go on hiatus for a while, before emerging once again months later. He would come up with songs, "Will You Be There?" and "You Are Not Alone." He was thinking about the woman who was the daughter of the ruler, his true love. Michael would then continue his hiatus in the month of October. This is the Halloween part of the story. So, to explain this part of the story and why I went with this is that I discovered a rock and metal covers version of the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack. I loved that movie as a kid and still do as an adult, and I love rock and metal, so I had to get this CD. The CD is called Nightmare Revisited, in case anybody wants to check that out. Even though the soundtrack was for that movie, just like with the Michael Jackson song, I used this as inspiration for the story, so I changed up, things to make it make sense for our story. So the main character, Jack, was instead another creature like Michael, but he was like the personification of Halloween. The magic of all the holidays was lost when that evil government took over. So Halloween magic was brought back, and while we wanted to bring all holidays back, messing with Christmas didn't go the way we would have liked the first time. It would all have a happy ending though. And it ended with this guy, which we refer to as the King of Halloween now. He would fall in love with a human woman. This proved that love could work between them and humans. In November, I wanted to continue the Michael story, and I thought it would be very fitting for the month of Thanksgiving in America. I found another collection of... It was the month of Thanksgiving in America. I found another collection of Michael Jackson songs, the Ultimate Collection. It was at this time Michael would begin to travel the road far towards the capital of that evil government. He would sing "Ease On Down the Road" with a friend. As he traveled, he continued to see people being treated wrongly by the government, which inspired him to do "You Can't Win." The government sent more people to hurt Michael. They knew that love is what inspired him to continue, and what stopped him once before was breaking his heart. So more women showed up and broke his heart. The Place Hotel, or the Heartbreak Hotel song was played, and in the end, he couldn't take it anymore. He would pass out, and I rushed to him. I was crying and upset and didn't know what to do. Michael was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. Michael would eventually be able to leave the hospital. In the middle of the night, looking at all the stars and creatures of the forest, By the way, there's like a lot of connection to nature, animals, and the story, which will explain the talking animals that would show up later. Hint, hint. Michael would sing the song "Someone in the Dark." The animals of the forest would smile back at him as he sang. He would this would re-inspire Michael to hit the road again, to continue his journey along with several other friends to the capital of the government to spread their message. Along the way, Michael would stop at the place guarded by the police. There was people living in poor, shabby homes looking out the windows to see Michael passing by. It's Michael passing by. Sorry, I lost my spot. The government... Okay, to see Michael passing by. The government police and several surveillance rooms were watching. The flags of this government had a large full moon symbol on a dark blue flag representing the night sky. This is why we would sometimes refer to this evil government as the moon government. The reason why I got this idea was because the next song was a demo that was released on the collection CD, the Ultimate Collection. It's called "Scared of the Moon." I came up with my own idea about the song and why Michael sang it. It would seem like a normal song, and the police didn't think anything of it. He was singing about the moon in the sky, right? He was singing about the moon in the sky, they thought. It would then be revealed he was actually singing about the moon government. The feeling of terror she felt as a youth has turned from a fantasy into the truth. The moon was the enemy haunting her soul. He sang as government police were shown killing parents and taking away their children on a holographic projection Michael created. I had hacked into the government database to retrieve this video. This projection sent the people into a rage, and they rioted it as Michael would escape with the police preoccupied. Michael continued his journey with a group of friends and allies, and was now on the holographic bridge to Moscow. This was the capital of the moon government. The reason why I put it there is because, "Stranger in Moscow" is a Michael Jackson song. So, this is however when the story takes a dark turn. Michael and his friends and allies were surprised by a police and military ambush in Moscow. They showed no mercy. They killed several of Michael's friends and allies and beat Michael with powerful weapons. It didn't kill him, but it sure caused him pain. They were able to capture him and take him away. The news quickly got to me and the others. I was devastated and began to believe all hope was lost, and the fight against the moon government was futile. The one person who could have stopped them was now in the hands of the government. While trapped in the cage, he was put in prison. Michael would sing "Childhood." So in this case, my careful Michael never experienced childhood because he was always locked up for being a creature when he was a child. However, a mysterious hooded person, who was also against the government, with a team of others, assassinated the guards of the prison and freed all the prisoners. Michael would escape but was never seen by the assassins or anyone else. Michael returned home and was battered and bruised, and we were all devastated by the losses. But we were happy to see Michael back. I told Michael, I guess it's over now. The moon government has won. He interrupted me. He told me that he wasn't giving up yet. I argued with him about it, but as per usual, he started to sing a song, and the song was "On the Line." This brought back hope to me as well as the others. He continued on the journey. This time I went on the journey with him. A few days into our journey, we would run into the woman who had originally broken Michael's heart. I didn't have anything nice to say to her. Michael would have his pain return. She dismissed Michael as possibly feeling love because he was a demon, according to her. Michael would begin singing "Who Is It" again, but this time it was different. This was a remix track on the CD, by the way. Something triggered inside of Michael. He began to glow with great power, and beams of light filled the willpower, and beams of light filled the area around us as he sang the song, and his voice changed. She was shocked and felt terrible because she learned that he, in fact, can feel love. She ran away, never to be seen by us again. It didn't take long for the government to realize Michael had escaped the prison, and we were surrounded by government police. This was then what showed up. The assassins, led by the mysterious hooded person, mysterious hooded person showed up and began to take out the police before they could kill or capture us. Blood on the Dance Floor was the soundtrack to this scene. The mysterious hooded person realized Michael was there and seemed very shocked to see him. The hooded figure was killing the majority of the government police with precision and unmatched skills. We were unsure of who this person was or if they would be allies. The hooded person finally killed the last officer. Despite my warning, Michael decided to confront the hooded person. They turned around and looked at Michael, stood there not saying a word. Michael asked, "Who are you?" The hooded figure replied, "An ally and an old friend." The mysterious person removed their hood, revealing they were no other than the daughter of the ruler government, Michael's true love. Michael stood there speechless. He couldn't believe he saw the love of his life again. I was also shocked to see her. Michael had a tear drop from his eye. He began to sing the song "Fall Again." This was another demo on that Ultimate Collection CD. Michael would always have words to everything he would sing, but he was finally lost for words as the song went on. This is my explanation for the story. But in reality, since the song is a demo, the lyrics were never finished. So Michael would sing non-words for part of that song. Meanwhile, a friend, or who we thought was a friend, was plotting betrayal. He gave the ruler news that the leader of the assassins that would have been killing the police and soldiers was his daughter, and that she was back with Michael. He also revealed the location of our home and hideout in the forest. Much to our surprise, the ruler of the government decided to have a diplomatic meeting with us, which turned out to be anything but diplomatic. The ruler made many threats if we didn't stop what we were doing to change the world. But Michael interrupted him with a song, and this song was Unbreakable. The ruler left furiously, threatened us with death and destruction like we have never seen before. A week later, Michael would propose to the love of his life, and several months later, we were at the wedding, which I was Michael's best man. Michael sang his own song at the reception, Beautiful Girl. A few weeks had passed after the wedding. The government began to destroy all threats to its existence. Police began to brutalize civilians. The military bombed and killed thousands of people. The forest was burned. Many natural habitats were leveled and thousands of animals killed. The government knew the power and connection to nature we had. Michael stood in terror at all the devastation. He fell to his knees and asked, "Why?" Michael cried, and his tears dropped onto the ashes of the scorched earth below. Michael's sadness had finally turned to anger. Anger is an extremely rare emotion for him. I don't think I've ever seen him angry before this time. He returned to our home. He asked that we would all gather around. He had told his allies to come as well. Michael began to sing, "We Had Enough." After Michael sang the words, "If we raise our voice as one," something incredible happened. He was able to harness the power he had shown before to force back any of the government's police and military and created a powerful barrier around all the protective people who had turned on the government after the news broke out of the horrific destruction. The rebellion forced the government forces to retreat without any violence, and now the people had a safe place to be for now. Several weeks had passed since the government forces brought their destruction. Michael was looking around, seeing all the devastation of the people, the environment, and creatures who live in it. Michael sang Earth Song. I was there to sing along with many other people. This part of the story now concludes. This part of the story now concludes with "This is it," which I would imagine that would be with the credits music if this was a movie. Then I went and had Thanksgiving dinner. I actually concluded this on Thanksgiving. This part of the story anyway. So, the story was not over yet, however. In December, I wanted to add Christmas-themed songs to my walks. I remembered I had some Christmas song parodies. These songs were by a Seattle radio host named Bob Rivers. I also had bought a sentimental Christmas CD. I need to drink water. Bob Rivers did a song parody of the Chipmunks song, and the Squeakquel trailer started to show up. This reminded me that we still had a copy of the 2007 Chipmunk movie. In mid-December, I decided to watch it. I immediately fell in love. This leads to the next part of the story. The next part of the story was that we were to do a Christmas event, where we will allow people to enter the safe place if they were seeking a way out of the moon government and raise money for them. I had received a call from a few people who wanted to volunteer and do the Christmas shows. Michael and I talked about some ideas. Then I would get a call from someone completely unexpected. It was from David Seville. He told me that the Chipmunks wanted to be a part of the shows. I was delighted to hear this. A few days later, Dave and the Chipmunks had arrived. I greeted Dave and shook his hand. Alvin looked up at me, but had a bit of skeptical look on his face. The reason why he was looking kind of skeptical was we were planning on doing a parody of the Chipmunk song and chipmunks roasting on an open fire. Simon and Theodore didn't mind poking fun at themselves. I explained to Alvin that it was all for fun. He still wasn't completely convinced. He was as stubborn as ever, even more so now that he was an adult in his 20s. There was another person with him that, though, I wasn't expecting. It was a woman who was the same age as me. I was 20 at the time. Simon explained to me that Dave adopted her when she was 12. She was their human sister. It didn't take long for me to realize I had a thing for this girl. Alvin didn't like me showing any interest in her. Simon and Theodore didn't mind, though. After doing a few shows with the Chipmunks, an old nemesis would get the news. Ian Hawke. Ian plotted revenge. This time he would partner with a billionaire family, which the moon government allowed to be neutral, as many rich people had that luxury. Ian convinced that family that we were evil and a threat to them and society. The family would align themselves with the moon government for the first time ever to try and stop us. The family would never get to see or hear what we were actually doing. But it was easy to convince them that we were evil because of Michael's appearance and that we were against the establishment. It all started with some of the people who were thought needed help were government agents. There were attacks and disruptions of our shows. The family then funded a campaign to stop us altogether. Meanwhile, I kept getting closer to the Chipmunk's human sister. Alvin was getting frustrated with constantly doing the gigs, making fun of himself and my attraction to his sister. We didn't get along, but he wanted to stay for the good cause. I tried my best to be his friend and showed him all the love that I could, but he was so set in his ways. I even started having the Chipmunks do their own official songs for the shows. Alvin still didn't seem to care for me. I decided to make the Chipmunks a huge part of the shows, though. On Christmas Eve, the story reached its insane conclusion. I had been gone for weeks to try and risk my life to get the message out that we were not evil to the family, which was about to shut down our whole operation. Ian was actually going to take all the money we had raised. He somehow convinced them that the Chipmunks were still his property. Simon and Theodore were concerned because I had not gotten back for the Christmas Eve show. Michael was also gone, and there were no plans yet given for the show. Alvin was pacing back and forth. Alvin was actually concerned about me, even though he would try to hide it. That was when Alvin got an idea that was crazy, but just might work. The Chipmunks got on stage and performed some of my favorite music. They were doing heavy metal for the first time. This is what the repitches I first created. So they had to perform many songs for hours, waiting for me to arrive. After many hours, I had finally returned. I saw the Chipmunks performing, and I was so surprised. I was also very surprised to see the Chipettes had also arrived. I arrived, and I was standing in the audience. There was Alvin. That was when Alvin noticed me. Alvin felt bad about how he didn't get along with me when I was just trying to be his friend. After his song had finished, Alvin began to speak on the microphone. Alvin said, "Hey, I want to dedicate this next song to someone who was there and tried to be a friend even though I gave him the cold shoulder." He sang "Lay Your World on Me" by Ozzy Osbourne. The spotlight then went on me, and I knew he was talking about me. The lyrics, "I haven't been there when you needed me. I didn't deserve the love you gave, but I am telling you, I'm here if you need a friend." That really resonated with me, and I smiled at him. I was then speechless. After the song was over, Alvin invited me on the stage. The Chipmunks performed another Ozzy song, "Here For You." I hugged Samantha, which is the name I'm giving to their human sister, at the end of the song. Then we realized it was near midnight, and we still hadn't convinced the family we were not evil. At midnight, the whole operation would shut down. In a last-ditch effort to buy some time, the Chipmunks performed "Through the Fire and the Flames" by Dragon Force. The clock had struck midnight when the song had ended. The family had arrived with Ian Hawke in tow. Ian says, "So here they are performing some kind of evil ritual." The Chipmunks hissed and scoffed at Ian. Michael stood by each of them. The family had told us it was time to shut everything down. We were too late to convince them otherwise. The message didn't make it in time, even during the last song. The power had been cut, and all the lights and Christmas stuff went dark. Ian was excited to be getting a lump sum of money. The family and Ian began to walk away. Our hope was lost, or so we thought. The Chipmunks were not ready to give up just yet. They convinced me to allow them to go straight to the family despite how dangerous it would be. Theodore yelled at them, "Wait!" Ian had turned around and said, "What does the fatty ratty want?" Theodore explained to them that they should have a final say before the family made a decision. Ian scoffed, but the family agreed. Theodore began to sing one of Michael's songs. Someone in the Dark was the song he first sang. The family was a bit surprised to see such a good heart, considering they thought they were evil. The Chipmunks then sang Earth Song to show the evils of the government and why they created this safe place to protect the people and the wildlife. The family started to wonder if they had made the right decision, but they were told they changed their minds after the Chipmunks sang Heal the World. The family realized they were lied to by Ian. They don't take being kindly to being lied to. They realized this was all a plot for Ian's revenge and for him to get the money. Ian started desperately trying to change their minds back, but it was futile. The power was restored in our safe place, and we got to keep the money. Ian was dragged away screaming. We celebrated and realized that this would be the best Christmas ever. I looked into Samantha's eyes and smiled. Alvin crawled up onto some scaffolding above the stage. He placed some mistletoe above us and ran off. That little sly boy. Alvin came down to us. Hey there. Down to us and said, "Hey there, you guys might want to look up," he said while he smirked. We looked up and realized there was mistletoe up there. I blushed, then Samantha kissed me. Okay. The following year, Samantha would get married. Michael, the Chipmunks, and I all became one big family. We would now live together. On Christmas, I got an iPod. I searched for Alvin and the Chipmunks music on iTunes the day after Christmas, and this is when I discovered the Undeniable album. I went for a walk that evening. Even though the story wasn't real, it still felt very special to me and made me feel good. This made the Chipmunks very sentimental to me. But once I heard their version of Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, I knew I would be madly in love with them for life. I was a super fan like crazy. I loved it so much I had a tear go down my eye. In 2010, I discovered Alvin and the Chipmunks fan channels. At first, I felt kind of weird and wondered if I'd be such a fan at my age, but I found some really great friends who were older as well. I had changed my ViralCipher YouTube channel to being Alvin and the Chipmunks themed. I made my own original characters, or OCs. I did roleplay and uploaded repitched songs. I actually started in 2010, but I had accidentally deleted all my YouTube videos and re-uploaded them in 2011. So, in case you're wondering why they're not, and the oldest videos are 2011. That's why. I met some of my best friends in the fandom. This was the first and only time I actually joined any kind of online fandom. The Chipmunks were so sentimental for me that I had a hard time dealing with anything negative said about them, though. Unfortunately, there was a lot of that. It took some time for me to not be really bothered by it, but now I'm not really bothered by it that much anymore. This also occurred with anything related to Michael Jackson, by the way, because of that sentimental value that I had with that story. So basically, 3 new things became very sentimental to me in 2009 and 2010. So it was Michael Jackson, the Chipmunks, and the Bob Rivers Show parodies and their radio show, since I decided to tune in to that because of their songs. And that's that. That's the whole story. Just mainly the stuff for where I went 2009 and 2010. I mean, I have a long stories for all the years after that, but this video will be like 4, 5, 6 hours long. So I'm gonna conclude it at this point. If you made it all the way to the end, you're awesome. If you get bored halfway through, that's great. Or if you get bored within the first 10 minutes or whatever, it's fine. It's okay. Can't do what you want. But if you want to listen to this whole thing, then I really, really appreciate you. Because this kind of means a bit to me. Don't really do this stuff that much anymore. Now that I'm older and I have a lot of other hobbies and things like that. But I do think about this storyline again every time September, October, November, December rolls around and I take walks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, okay, day, week, month, forever. Anyway, see y'all later.